journalists are people who are taken seriously by the powers that be, political and business, and so people like to associate themselves with that name. But being a blogger is different from being a journalist, because bloggers right now, they don't have a code of ethics. What separates the major thing that separates a blogger from a journalist is that a journalist ascribes to a certain ethical code. The ethical code has to do with how you inform the public about events, about how you frame a story in a way that you give people, you tell people what they need to know, exercising judgment over what you give the public, your sensitivity to handling certain news items, issues like verification, analysis, and context. These are things that a lot of bloggers do not really ascribe to, and so there's that difference there. But there are bloggers who do journalism, and the journalists who blog. But if you're going to take it at the definition and the general mentality that underpins both, there's a difference there, yes.
But bloggers are laying claim to that title, and because they say they report the news, they pass information. Well, do you think they have a claim? Do you think their claim is proper?
Well, the vast majority of blogs in Nigeria, what they do is they basically aggregate links. They aggregate content from other news sites, from regular news sites like Channels Television and other sites. So what they do is they aggregate news content, and they also aggregate opinion pieces as well. So many of these pieces are equally gotten are used without, most of the time, without attribution to the person who wrote them, for example. That's a whole separate matter. But what they do,
plagiarism?
Yes, of course. But what you have is, you have these people, they are mostly aggregators. Many of them do not originate content. If they do originate content, it doesn't carry with it the information that people need to know about. And so it causes all kind of confusion that journalists now have to come and sort out, because they are about verifying information, they are about context, they are about why did this happen, and so on and so forth. So you have people posting something, it is half-baked, it's not verified, and so all the confusion that happens, you now need somebody from Channels or from Punch or from This Day to go and now begin to verify information and then correct the matter about a day or two later.
In between this line, in between these two persons, you have freelance journalists. Where do they stand?
Oh, freelance journalists are very much they are very much journalists, so that they are not really attached to any particular media organization, but their own ethics are most of the time too, they are also pretty sound. So you can rely on them for the credibility and all the things that you normally give regular journalists who are employed on a regular basis. And even for those people who do freelance, even when they have blogs, or if they post or if they send articles to other media organizations to publish, those articles go through a proper editorial process. But even when they post on their own blogs, you can see that there's a stark difference between what they do and what the regular blogger does, particularly Nigerian blogger does.
There are times where bloggers actually post certain news, information, ASAP.
Yes.
They are claiming they break the news. How breaking is breaking news? With the advent of social media and blogs and all that.
Well, with the advent of social media means that breaking news, if you ask me, has lost its value. I'm not sure there is that much of a value in breaking news, because when news breaks, you need people to verify. You see, that's where journalists are very important as well. Something breaks, but you need someone who's going to take the trouble to go through the process of verification, of context, and of analysis. This is why journalists will never ever go out of fashion, because there was one time, early this year, when they said that a bus fell into Lagos Lagoon. Over 10 million, which fell into Lagos Lagoon. Now what happened was, a team from the Associated Press in Nigeria had to go and verify. They went the length of 3rd Mainland Bridge in both directions and had to verify that that was not what happened. That is what journalists do. Journalists take the time, they take the trouble to verify the things that bloggers post. Now, you have the initial rush of everybody clicking on the story because that's what they do it for. They do it for clicks and all of that. But when it comes to actually informing people in the proper way, so they can take action about the news, that is where the difference now comes in.
I have been speaking to Joachim Mark Ebong, who is a blogger and a journalist, and he is also a student in the School of Media and Communication in the Pan-African University. We'll take a quick break, and when we return, we'll be moving to our online studio to see what our online contributors have to say about this topic. Please join us again.
Channels TV app for Nokia. Step into the bigger picture to get access to news, entertainment, and sports and much more. Click to upload your own eyewitness and share your story for the world to see. Download now from the Windows Phone Store. Exclusive to the Nokia Lumia 820 and 920. Channels TV app for Nokia. The news at your fingertips.
Send your comments and contributions on Twitter, Facebook, as well as Google Plus using the hashtag blogger or journalist. We now join our online contributors to hear what their thoughts are on this issue.
I'm a blogger, but I mean, would I call myself a journalist? No, because I don't report news. I just write what I think and feel about things that are happening around. Sometimes they may be news, but most times they're just my thoughts and opinions. In 21st century, it's hard to say a blogger is not a journalist, because sometimes some journalists are bloggers. So, but I don't think categorically a journalist is not a blogger, but some bloggers can be journalists.
I would love to agree with her that journalists are not necessarily bloggers, because journalists have to be trained. And a lot of times journalists don't have opinions. So that's something I need to care. Journalists just report what's on the news and what's going on. They don't have opinions. Bloggers who run these blogs have opinion. I blog sometimes and I have opinions. So it's very difficult when you have to be a blogger and you also want to be a journalist. Are you serving the people or you're serving your own personal interest? Most times journalists are trained, they have a technique, they have a way they go about it and stuff. But with bloggers, social media, would write, say your opinion. You probably might not do much investigation like a journalist. You're sometimes free to make certain conclusions.
The origin of blogging, basically, it follows one's interest and passion. Writing information chronologically, you're just following what you're writing, order by order. You're doing what you're doing because you want people to hear what you feel and what your passion are. You understand? You're not making the news. Sorry, you're making the news, but you're reporting the news, basically. In recent times, blogging is going commercial. That's why we basically have this stuff discussed today, because it's going commercial. So there's this drag between who is a journalist and who is a blogger. But basically, bloggers are not journalists at all. But bloggers could be, because it has a training ground for most journalists I've seen today.
If you look at New York Times, and you look at a few top newspapers, you see the layout, the contents, the articles, they're quite different from a blog. Even coming to Nigeria, if you go to Punch, Vanguard, and Guardian, the content layout and the technique is different from what Linda Keji runs. So it's not much science for you to be able to look at. Just compare Vanguard and Linda Keji. They don't run the same format. They don't run the same content. Some blogs outsource, they just copy from every source as well. The journalists or the newspapers still tell us who's reporting for them, who's covering what, and who is doing what.
First, what is a blog? A blog is a website which an individual or group of users record opinions, information, etc. on a regular basis. So honestly, the truth is, I don't agree with what Tunde Rosono said when he said, the format of like a Linda Ikeji. There's nothing wrong with a regular news site having the format of a Linda Ikeji. Now, the reason why Linda Ikeji's blog, for instance, will have that format is because her blog is more in tune to